Hello, my name is Tia, also known as Costume Fiend, because I'm both evil and excessively fond of dressing up. Normally I have like some kind of outline or like a script, kind of, so I can keep on track and so I make sure that I don't forget things mid-sentence or mid-thought. But for this first video of the year, I was kind of like, I have a new microphone and I want to try, I guess, doing like a more organic version of rambling. I will still be looking at a few pictures though to help me out. I guess I kind of wanted to just go through all the videos that I've already made, just to see, like, how far I've come. I guess I think, yeah, the first one was about 7 months ago, so that's pretty good. And it was the one about Namor. And I think what I liked about that one is because I had the idea of going over superhero Wikipedia pages for a while. I think mostly because as a comic book fan, I think sometimes, even myself, we get over serious about these characters. So it's fun to kind of go in there and remember how ridiculous some things are, like him being called a freak in the service of chaos. I also had liked how he was portrayed in Wakanda Forever, so I kind of, with the thumbnail, wanted to combine his look in the movie with his comic book look. And even though that drawing did get a lot of attention, I do still like it. If I didn't draw because things didn't get attention, I would never draw. The second one, yeah, that was about Bane. And similarly, Bane's backstory was kind of fascinating. He's still not my favorite DC character, but still like an interesting foil to Batman. And I think I used the Harley Quinn animated series to come up with the thumbnail. And then there was The Crow, which I think I did that one because, yeah, because the new one was coming out and I was not interested. And I kind of just wanted to talk, I guess, about how I felt about the original. Then after that was the one where I started rambling about DuckTales. Yeah, I still enjoy that cartoon. I still stand by it. As far as reboots go, that's definitely on the list of ones that I think was done right. I still have all the voice acting work and the animation, and I think that for me personally, they balanced filler-ish episodes with storyline episodes. I know some people maybe thought it had too much filler in between, but I kind of liked it that way. I feel like cartoons nowadays don't have enough. And then after that, yeah, I did ramble about the manga She Loves to Cook and She Loves to Eat, which was really cute. And I really like also how that thumbnail came out. I don't have as much to say about that right now. And it's been a while since I've read it, just because I've had so many other things going on. And then after that, I did a video about Losi Spookies. I think that that's definitely, again, on the list of shows where it feels like whoever created it had an audience member like me in mind. It's really kind of a unique thing, and I am gonna miss it. I really appreciated the focus on like these queer goth type characters, and I liked that it was mostly in Spanish, and we kind of focused on what that subculture was like there. I think specifically they were like in Mexico or South America, somewhere in South America. And then after that one, I did the rambling about a bunch of different sapphic ships that I liked, because I think at that point it was Pride Month and it was coming to an end. I talked about this comic series, Dom and Moore. I talked about the pair of Max and Anne from Black Sails. I talked a little bit about The Handmaiden, which honestly could be its own separate video, because that is one of the few movies where it's like, yes, it's 3 hours, but when I have the time and the attention span, I never regret setting aside the time to watch it. Harley and Ivy are an old classic. I still love them. I loved them, I think, from the minute I saw the two of them interact for the first time in the original Batman animated series. And yeah, I could also definitely do a separate video, honestly, about both of them and them together. And then, yeah, we ended with Princess Bubblegum and Marceline. Bubblegum and Marceline, I would argue, are also another kind of old classic, which at this point, now that I'm 30, it's kind of weird to say, but yeah, Adventure Time is now starting to become something that I would consider to be old. And then after that, I think I talked about the movie Miranda, which was like an old movie. I think it was from the 40s, and it was just about this mermaid who's pretty much boy crazy. And it's one of those things where it's just like it doesn't seem like it would hold up or be fun to watch, but I really enjoyed it. Like I mentioned in that video, I think I would definitely like it if there were more mermaid films, especially with black women. It's kind of unfortunate that in general that's a small pool, no pun intended, but there's I think only pretty much one movie with a black mermaid, and you know how I feel about live action remakes. So moving on, I then talked about Robbie Reyes, who I consider my son. Now that I'm also older, because the character, as far as I know, is still kind of a teenager. Um, yeah, I liked his character design, and even though he doesn't have as much of his own content, I definitely enjoyed that. Even though I'd never really paid much attention to the Ghost Rider series before. Then my next favorite thing was We Bare Bears, which, similar to DuckTales, though not a reboot, it's definitely a cartoon that's obviously, meant for children, but I still found it really enjoyable, and it's definitely still a good pick me up for when you're having a bad day. I like the relationship between the brothers, and I liked the fact that, the show definitely tried to present the city that they lived in as pretty diverse, um, which, weirdly enough, sometimes you don't always see in cartoons. Um, okay, then after that, I started this show Supercell, so I talked about that a little bit. Another superhero thing, followed by Zatanna. With Zatanna, at this point, I think the comic series that I'd been reading at the time had finally come to an end, and I believe she's actually getting another solo series this year, so that should be nice. Definitely, I think I mentioned it, or I'm mentioning it now, but that's definitely a character, like I've cosplayed her before, I've, read some stuff, and at first, for some reason, I just, like, guess I didn't really think of myself as, like, a real fan, but definitely, definitely think of myself as one now. And, obviously the distinction between real fans and fake fans can be rather arbitrary. Um, but yeah, following Zatanna, then I rambled a bit about Aphrodite, the Greek goddess specifically. Um, yeah, I still have an interest in her as a mythological being, and definitely I could probably do another video about her, or covering topics where I like use her and Greek myth to kind of discuss real world issues, which I've done before. Um, and then yeah, after that I recently watched The Sea Beast, and I talked about that. I thought it was a really cute movie. Speaking of something with a black girl lead and involving the ocean, she wasn't a mermaid, but there was a lot of cool sea monster designs. Following that, then I talked about Inside Out, the first one. I still haven't seen the second one, and I'm definitely going to. But I'd wanted to talk about it because I remember the fact that I was pretty much a big Sadness fan, and yeah, that was probably an unpopular opinion before the whole, plot reveal of the importance of sadness as a concept. And then I got into what I think is still currently my longest video, which was me rambling about Beauty and the Beast. I did talk about like the 1991 Disney version, and that inspired the thumbnail, but I also talked about the fairy tale in general and why I liked it so much, and other versions of it that I enjoyed. Yeah, I still really like that one, and it's one of those things where it's like, because I'm kind of working, I guess, on my own Beauty and the Beast type story, which combined with a few other fairy tales. It's interesting looking back on it now. And then I did a video about the Road to El Dorado, and yeah, I still maintain that the adventure movie genre is kind of a really difficult thing to salvage. It kind of, it kind of really doesn't lend itself well to modern times, and especially since we're more conscious about things like colonialism and how we treat indigenous people. It's, it's a lot. And I'm not indigenous myself, so I can't 100% say anything about that. But in my opinion, I think that there were things that could be fixed, and that's what inspired that video in the first place, to make it watchable. Then, okay, yeah, and then following that, that was the one about the Haunted Mansion, the 2003 version. I haven't seen the new one, and I don't have many strong feelings about that necessarily. I wasn't like protesting it or anything. I just didn't feel like watching it. And I really did actually like the original one, um, for a number of reasons, but some of it's probably nostalgia. But it did get me thinking about the Gothic romance genre, which I then talked about using Mexican Gothic and Crimson Peak as kind of my vehicles to talk about it. And at that time, I think it was October, so then I started rambling about vampires. I talked about a couple of movies that I enjoyed. The thumbnail was inspired by the second Fright Night from the original duo. And yeah, I still like that one more than the first, but they're all enjoyable. And then the next vampire video I did, I was talking about the children of Dracula that have appeared in fiction, that I recognize or have seen. Um, and yeah, I think I then transitioned then to talking about the trope of the monster mash, because talking about Dracula's children kind of led into that whole thing about how there are different series that combine different creatures and usually universal monsters, from the movie company, production. Geez, from the movie studio Universal. The fact that Frankenstein, the Wolfman, things like that, they're usually combined together anyway. So I feel like most of the time people take their cues from that. Then following the Monster Mash thing, because we was pretty much the end of October and we were leading into November, I talked about the movie The Book of Life because it's about Dia de los Muertos. Yeah, it's I don't know if I would say it's underrated. I feel like it did okay at the time, but it's definitely something I think you should watch, especially if you've seen the movie Coco, which personally I haven't seen, but you know, there can be more than one movie about a thing, and I feel like The Book of Life is definitely something worth watching. Um, and then following The Book of Life, I talked about the murder mystery genre. The thumbnail for that one, like I said, I think it was inspired partly by that It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia meme, and partly by the time I did a sort of Daphne from Scooby Doo cosplay. I still think that I could definitely do a separate whole thing about Scooby Doo. There's so much material there. And I think what inspired that too was partly me watching Murder She Wrote as background noise while I draw. And then yeah, okay, then the next one was Invincible Fight Girl. I'm behind on a few episodes, but I like it. Overall, it's cute. The animation's great. And I love the thumbnail for that one too, because there's also kind of a Bob's Burgers inside joke there. And yeah, then following that, I did a video about Men in Black, a movie series that I think for the most part, like whether or not it holds up is highly debatable, but it's a series that from the 90s that I think I didn't realize how much I enjoyed it until I really started thinking about it. Then I started rambling about Christmas movies and specials because that time of year I kind of start to get the blues, so I was trying to, I guess, figure out how to get myself out of it a bit and rewatch some specials that I hadn't watched in a long time, like All of the Other Reindeer and this animation Santa Baby. And then I ended the year talking about whether or not I think live action adaptations can actually work at all. And despite my negative feelings about the Disney remakes, there are definitely live actions that I think have worked, do work, and I kind of wanted to end on a more positive note in general. And that kind of, yeah, I believe, yeah, that sums up pretty much everything that I did this past year. So, to wrap up everything and kind of come to an end, I think, like I said, this year, there's a few things that I want to try doing different. I've always kind of had the idea of making a YouTube channel, and a few years ago, I actually did have some videos that I removed because I didn't like them anymore. Um, yeah, this is kind of the first time I'm using this new microphone, so it's probably still going to be a bit messy, but I'm kind of getting the hang of it, and I think I like the potential setup I've got going on. Um, Other than that, I feel like there's really not much else that I wanted to get into today. This is probably pretty long, actually, all things considered, compared to my others anyway. Um, I guess you could take a shot every time I say, like, the same catchphrases over and over again. It's hard to come up with different words to transition into things, and I had quite a few videos to go through. Um, but yeah, leave a like if you liked, subscribe for more nerdy rambling, and as always, have a good one.